So a few years ago, Microsoft came out with this really cool technology called Windows Subsystem for Linux. And I remember as soon as it came out, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to try that. So I went ahead and enabled it, and I'm like, this is great. I got rid of PuTTY and any other SSH emulator that I didn't need, because let's face it, if I don't need to have it installed on my device, I'm going to get rid of it. Because with all this software out there, there's always some type of vulnerability within that software, and new ones are constantly being discovered. Those are called 0 days because antivirus software doesn't pick it up. So I still have PuTTY on this computer, but I can get rid of it after I activate Windows Subsystem for Linux. That's short for WSL. So what is it and why would I need it? So if you use Linux in your daily tasks, if you have Linux servers, or if you're building applications that would run on Linux, then you don't need to install PuTTY anymore, nor would you have to create a dual boot disk. So back in the day, you would have a laptop that would boot into Linux or Windows, and I used to have one that did exactly that, a couple actually. So on one partition, you would have a volume specifically for Windows OS, and the other would be for Linux. So when you booted it up, you would have two options to select, one or the other. So if I needed to boot into Linux, I would select Linux. Same with Windows. You don't have to do that anymore. So with WSL, it circumvents all that. So it's work smarter, not harder. And that's the purpose of WSL. Microsoft kind of saw this and were like, you know what, we need to embed Linux within our Windows 10, Windows 11 operating systems. So before you activate WSL, you need to make sure you are running Windows 10 version 2004 or higher. So how do I know what version I'm on? I'm going to go down here and type in WinVer, and it's going to tell me I'm on Windows 10 version 22H2 OS build 19045. So I'm good, and I'm going to go ahead and enable it. So this is a personal computer, and I would recommend not doing again anything else. Only do this on a device that's owned by you, a personal device. And if you don't need it, don't do it. So how do I check and see if it's been turned on? So I'm going to type in Windows Online, or get Windows optional feature, online, feature name, and I'm going to wildcard Linux. And as you can see, it's enabled because I just enabled it. If I didn't enable it and it said disabled, then I would have to go enable Windows optional feature, online, feature name, and I would copy this up here, paste it in, give it one more parameter, and it's going to ask me to reboot it. But since I already have it enabled, we're good. So this functions as a virtual container, kind of like Hyper-V. So it creates a container within the Windows OS, and you can run your Linux applications or your the Linux terminal from that. So now that it's enabled, I can open up the Windows Store, and I can type in WSL, and I can find my distribution of choice. So I'm going to start with Ubuntu. And if you're not familiar with Linux and want to learn how to use it, I would probably start there. Actually, I'm going to go with Debian. And nope, I'm not going to set up an account, and it's going to download. So that'll take a while. So when that's done, you would go ahead and open it. Wow, I guess it's that was quick. Wow. So I'm going to open it, and it's going to finish installing the repositories. And you'll eventually notice you'll eventually notice a separate section in the File Explorer specifically for Linux. So it's going to ask me to create a username, and I'm going to bring that over here so you don't see it. And there we go. And that's it.